Hello everyone, welcome to my vlog. First of all, I would like to say I'm really sorry I haven't vlogged for a long time. I've been extremely busy with a lot of projects I'm involved with, so it was really tough time to squeeze in any vlogs. So I'm really sorry and I hope you guys forgive me. So today's vlog, I would like to dedicate it and talk a little bit about some of the mistakes I have done as a headshot photographer. So the other day I was thinking a little bit about it, to just do a little bit of I would say some kind of like evaluation of my recent work and what could I improve. And actually that's what helped me to actually come up with the topic for this vlog. So I just wrote them down and I actually picked 8 the biggest, in my opinion, mistakes we do as a photographers, but I will actually just kind of tweak them a little bit towards my business and my career, and I would like to talk about them a little bit. So there's 8 of them, which I think are the most important ones, and I would say fighting a little bit with some of them because it's not easy to kind of change some of the habits we have. And then when you guys heard about them, I'm sure most of you guys also I would say dealing with them on the daily basis as a photographers. So let's start with the number 1, and I would say the biggest one. So I was focusing way too much on the gear, and I think we could talk for hours about it, but I'm sure most of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. When we focus way too much on the gear and we focus on the photography, then I would say become a problem, because I can assure you that the gear you own today, you can create amazing stuff, and you don't need some high-end top shelf equipment to create great images. And I was actually the same way. I think every photographer love their own gear, and we always try to find something what's gonna work better, what's gonna work faster. But sometimes I think we're getting caught up into that kind of spiral, crazy mindset where we, I would say, think only that the gear can allows us to create those amazing images, which is not true. And I'm sure most of you guys know about it, and I don't have to, I would say, talk way too much about it. But I think the first symptom when you actually can recognize that there is an issue is that you start thinking that, well, you don't create great images because of the gear. And I was that way. There was a certain time in my career where I was just like, well, if I would have this high-end camera, I would do this great images what these other guys are doing. We know, and this is a fact, that you don't really need high-end gear. You can create stunning images with really, I would say, basic stuff. You just need a little bit of I would say education, and you need a little bit of more, I would say, mind put into it, and you can just create amazing stuff. So that's the first one. The second one is I was way too much technical. So basically, and this is something which I actually see all the time whenever I post some image from my session, people always question and ask about, like, oh, what was the aperture, what was the shutter speed, what like all the technical stuff. I deeply believe that those are important things, but when we focus again too much on this, we losing the most important thing, which the photography is all about. So let's say you can have the most amazing technical shot, beautiful lighting, beautiful exposure, everything is just top notch, but there's no emotion, there's no story behind it, the image is garbage. And whenever we go for a shoot, I deeply believe that we have to know this technical stuff, figured it out, and we have to know what we're doing. But whenever you go for a shoot and you're just only thinking about what aperture should you use, or all those technical stuff, you basically losing the total connection with your subject, with the person you're shooting. Whenever I go for a shoot, I set up my stuff, and then I just basically try to have conversation with the person. I'm trying to bring some emotion out of this person. That's the main focus. So whenever you go for a shoot, again, it's important to have, you know, this technical stuff figured it out, and you have to know what you're doing, but you have to somehow take your mind off those things whenever you're on the shoot. So just be careful that, you know, like, you don't get, again, caught up with all this technical stuff, because that's gonna take, I would say, the quality of your work a little bit down. Okay, so the next one, and this is another, I would say, big one, I was really avoiding education. I know every photographer, most of them. I was one of them. I had big ego, and I thought I know everything. I have to admit that I'm not kind of someone who's gonna say, well, you know, I'm not that kind of person, because I had few, you know, successful shoots. All of a sudden I thought I know everything, which was just completely the dumbest thing I could ever have done, but I think that's the kind of our way of human beings. We have this huge ego inside, and we know somehow that we know everything. And I was really, I would say, avoiding. I was reading some stuff here and there, but I was really not trying to get much deeper into this, which was just the biggest mistake, because there's always something to learn. There's always someone who knows something more than you do, and it's important to have your eyes and ears open all the time to learn something. And another thing is, I would say I have a kind of attitude. I would never pay for any workshop. I would never pay for any online course. I was just like, well, why do I need this? Like, I can just learn myself. Again, the dumbest thing ever. Over the last, I would say, 2-3 years, I've been investing a lot of money in a lot of workshops, and investing money in those online courses. This is important, and it's really crucial, so you can learn something new. You can improve your stuff, and then, you know, kind of gaining some of the experiences and the knowledge from other photographers always helps you. And, you know, like, it's also interesting for me these days, whenever I see some new workshops coming up from a lot of those, you know, different photographers or retouchers, or, you know, educational people. People always like, oh my god, this is so expensive, like, why they charge so much? And they're not expensive. I just want to give you an example. Like, recently I purchased workshop for $100 from one of the best retouchers on the planet, and I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about. You know, like, the amount of knowledge is there, and amount of improvement I've done in my workflow, it's amazing. And this only cost me $100. You know, and it's interesting for me that sometimes photographers, they're willing to spend I would say thousands of dollars on new lens or new body or some new equipment, and they chipping up on buying, like, you know, workshop for $100 or $200 or $300, which is, I would say, crazy for me. I would rather to spend much more money on those kind of stuff, because these guys really can teach you the real stuff. They can teach you techniques. They can actually teach you things which really take your photography to the next level. Okay, so the next thing what I was doing wrong, I was actually avoiding doing like a collaborative free shoots. I was just like, well, this is the business. I'm only doing stuff for money, and I would never ever I would do anything for free. Wrong. You have to do those, and I'm not saying that you have to do them every single day, but those are the shoots which you can really try new things. Whenever I go for I would say business shoot or corporate shoot, there's no time for experimenting. Like, you trying to do the best job as possible, have the best setup as possible, get the job done and leave. And that's something which not giving you any time to do something new. And this is like, I think that those paid shoots, we don't learn anything on them. Like, you have to get them done as best as possible, and there is no room for any experiments, any room for, you know, trying new things, because if something goes wrong, you know, the client might be upset, or, you know, like, it might not turn into something positive. So whenever you do those free shoots where you tell them straight ahead, look, I'm gonna doing some new things, experiment some new stuff, those things might work, those things might not work, just be aware of that. And that's how we learn. And I think we always would have to somehow dedicate it every month to do those shoots, because that's how we're gonna progress, that's how we're gonna learn new things, and that's how we're gonna I would say get better in what we do. Okay, so the next thing, and this is another, I would say, really big mistake I was doing. I didn't focus too much on the retouching. I was coming up with bunch of different excuses that I don't need retouch, my pictures have to look real. This is something which, well, what I would like to say with this is that a lot of people say that because they're struggling with this, and I was the same, because I couldn't do it. I was frustrated with this. I was coming up with different excuses to say, well, I don't really need that. I think you should practice retouching as much as possible, learn as much as possible, invest money in workshop courses, whatever you can do to get better at this, because unfortunately these days, photography without retouching, those two things, I would say, go together, and there's nothing what we can do about it. And as soon as you get hands on it, and as soon as you understand how this whole thing works, and then as soon as you will get better at it, then you will see that your photography will get better. And another thing what I would like to add about retouching, this is not something we can learn overnight. We need practice, we need time to dedicate to do this thing, and like, you really have to learn how to do it. It takes time. Again, it's frustrating, it's not easy, but the more you practice, the more you learn, the better you get, and there's no other way around. And make sure whenever you even get into photography, don't try to skip this, because, you know, it's a kind of dead end. There's no way out of it. You have to learn how to do those things. I'm sorry. Okay, so the next thing is I was spending way too much time on social media. I agree that social media is a huge tool to our business. This is something which, again, we cannot even imagine to have the business without social media. You have to be there, you have to promote yourself, you have to interact, you have to engage. But I've noticed from my experience, I was wasting a lot of time there. Especially I found there's a lot of photography groups where people just argue there. Everyone tried to prove the point. Everyone tried to, I would say, play this, you know, smarty pants, and be the clever person on entire internet. I was, again, the same thing. Like, I was getting into conversation, trying to talk to other people, but if the conversations, they don't take you anywhere, or you're not going to learn anything from it, or you're not going to improve your work, you're just simply wasting your time. And I've noticed a lot of photographers do that. I don't know why. That's something which, in my opinion, is total waste of time. This is something which really it's not taking you anywhere. You just basically you know, you just fulfill your, I would say, ego. You try to prove someone that you're smarter than them, but not something which is giving you anything. And I know that social media is something which, you know, you have to be there, you have to be part of this, you have to just have your voice, but just be smart about it. Don't waste your time there, because this is not good for you, not good for your business, and not good for your photography. It's extremely crucial to limit yourself with how much time you want to be there and what you're doing there. So just try to evaluate you know, what you do there, and you know, like how much time you spend there, because this is something which I found a lot of people just losing track, and they just basically just shooting themselves in the foot with time waste on something which not giving you anything. Okay, so there's two more things which I would like to talk about, and I'll briefly go over them because I've been chatting for a long time. Okay, so the next thing, the biggest mistake I've done, I didn't have the right team, and I'm talking about the makeup artist and the hairstylist. I was working with a lot of people, and let me tell you that having that really good team of people who work with you on your projects is extremely important, because that's elevates your work. I'm not gonna tell you how many shoots I waste because I have bad makeup artists or, you know, bad hairstylists, and it's something which is really important and really crucial, because that's what's going to help you to achieve those really high-end images. Those are the people who really take your work to the next level, and choosing them is extremely important. And then make sure you have a good relationship with them, you work with them, and everyone will be happy at the end of the day. You will be happy with your shots, the client will be happy, what's going to bring you more work, and these guys also is going to be excited that they have, I would say, you know, consistent work that, you know, gonna bring them also a business. So remember about this, because this is something which I was always just I have to say, like, I didn't care much. Like, okay, you bring your own makeup artist, you bring your own hairstylist, do whatever you want, and then at the end of the day I was just like, oh my god, like, you know, this shoot is waste because the makeup is horrible, the hair looks terrible. So that's something which just remember whenever you like, if you're a headshot photographer, those are really important things. And the last thing I would say is also really important, but I leave that at the very end, is to treat your, well, if you're professional, like, you have to treat your photography as a business. This is really important, and a lot of people simply forget about it. There's a lot of situations which you can avoid, and make sure that at the end of the day you don't doing mistakes. I'm not gonna go into a lot of details. I'm gonna say just a couple things. First of all, like, back in the days, I never had contracts with people, I never had any model release form. I was pretty much just like, when it comes to the money, like, oh, you will pay me later. Didn't have like price lists, didn't have some kind of structure. Where I'm gonna go with this business was just like free for all, and this is really bad, because that's gonna, again, bite you in the back sooner or later, and then you're gonna just be upset and disappointed. So it's really important to have that business structure on what you do and how you do it, and following that, because that's gonna make your job more I would say pleasurable, and you're gonna be more excited about new projects, and then, you know, you gonna be, I would say, prepared to some, I would say, difficult situations, which they will come. There's no question about it. So there will be no I would say surprises, because you're going to be covered from every angle. Okay, I've been talking for about 20 minutes already, so I hope that gives you a little bit of more, I would say look over the stuff what we could improve and we could do better. Those are the things which I've been struggling with throughout my career. There's still a few things which I need to improve, and I'm still, I would say, have issues with this, but that's something which I have to deal with. But maybe that gives you some, I would say, new suggestion to do the stuff which you're doing, and hopefully that will help you to improve your photography and your business. So I will be looking to your comments, I will be looking to your tips, and maybe there's something you guys would like to add to it. I would definitely like to hear your comments and then your suggestions and anything what you would like to share with me. So have a wonderful week, and I hope that was interesting, and I will be looking forward to again hear from you, and I'll do another vlog in the next couple days. So enjoy your week, and I will talk to you guys very soon.